Hello and welcome to Red Mate. Today we're talking about Wrexham. Whoa. Make sure you stick around to the end and we'll let you know how much the prize money was for Wrexham getting promoted to League One. Today we're talking about Wrexham, just recently promoted. I've got Greg here with me today.
Hello.
Yeah, we're just going to discuss the big talking points following that, what happens next season. People are very interested with Ryan and Rob being the Hollywood owners still in and around that club and how they kind of compare to other clubs, not only in the Premier League, but the Championship as well as League One too. So, Greg, let's talk about the promotion. What do you think?
Obviously big promotion for them. I don't know, going into the season if the owners and the club would have been expecting to be sort of back-to-back promotions. It's pretty unknown and rare, and to be honest, I think you were given a bit of backlash in one of your earlier videos.
Yeah, I'll put the link up there for
in
everyone.
the year where we probably challenged it a bit more, and to our surprise, they have done it and they've gone back-to-back. Haven't won the league, unfortunately. Missed out to Stockport, but back-to-back promotions into League One now.
Automatic promotion spots.
Yeah, getting closer now to the real sort of big leagues. I do wonder when Rob and Ryan first sort of bought into the club, if obviously it's good to have that faraway dream, but whether they expected to get here that quickly, 2 years in the National League, now in League Two, and now moving up to League One. Yeah, I wonder if that's met their expectations, if it's surpassed it, up to the Championship or even, I dare say, the Premier League, but that's a long way to go still.
Yeah, no, it definitely seemed like a pipe dream for me at the start, and I know that they come in and they see the top flight English football, they see the Premier League, and they go, oh, we're going to buy this team, we're going to take them all the way there. And for me, I was kind of pretty skeptical of it. I was like, it's going to take you ages. You're coming in here, there's a massive gap. Everyone else is coming into these clubs, they're trying to do the same thing, and obviously it's not always going to work. It rarely ever works that you actually see these clubs climb all the way up. Typically it will just take tens of years for that to happen. A lot of the clubs who started up there, the historical big clubs, they've always been up there and they've got that advantage of just being there every year, whereas for the teams to actually climb up, obviously it's a possibility and that's why we love it so much, but definitely surprised me that they've now got 2 promotions, and this time last year, having just been promoted out of the National League finally, which was the story that everyone was really chasing, pushing for.
Which they say is the hardest league to get out
of.
So
They've gone from the bottom level of, what's considered professional football. They've got out of that league, which is meant to be the toughest one to get out of, into League Two, and for me, that jump is quite large, and I thought that was going to really test them and they were going to need to really step it up and go to the next level. But funny you mentioned, interestingly enough, we've made a video previously on Wrexham and that in particular moment where, obviously pointed out a few things, and people in the comments quite informatively, maybe they could have said it a little bit more constructively, but they actually pointed out that it's not too uncommon for teams to be promoted into League Two and then actually go up the following season. They said it was actually quite likely, which did surprise me, but it is actually interesting to see.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, probably looking back now, the squad that they had back in the National League to the level of competition that was there, they had a lot of sort of League One players, even Championship players coming into there. So in hindsight now, looking back, it's well, is it really that surprising when they do have a strong squad that they built on? And even now, sort of going into League One, it's what does the rostering moves look like? What does the transfer window look like? How much of their sort of squad will they keep going forward? Obviously there's talks that they probably need to strengthen in their goalkeeping, and I'll be interested to see how much of that original squad they've got now will carry through into next year. Yeah,
I think they do have some decent players, and again, probably the nature of Wrexham, it offers a little bit more than your other typical clubs. So players are more likely to join it. And we saw when they got promoted out of the National League, they had the likes of Ben Foster there, who'd gone from playing Premier League and this retired player who then they were able to recruit, and they had him and, obviously had that little stint there for a second time. But it'd be interesting now that they would still have that kind of pull, that celebrity status, the whole X factor about the club. But now they're actually in a higher league. So all of a sudden the football now has stepped up another level.
That's right.
But all the same other opportunities that Wrexham are offering you is still the same as what it always has. So I think they can probably go up a level in terms of the players they can attract, because getting Ben Foster, they've probably done it on the name basis and the entire package, being all over the news and getting the global attention that we see. But if you can actually say to players now all around the world, or obviously England and Britain in particular, that we're a League One club now, this is actually a pretty respectable level of football that you're now playing, and
it's even more attractive.
Yeah, so you're not going down into the National League the way like Paul Mullen did, and that obviously grew a lot of headlines because he was someone that everyone considered could play at a high level.
Yeah.
And he was dropping down maybe for one or two other reasons, but I think you're almost at this level where it's actually not that League Two and the National League aren't respectable levels, but it's certainly a higher level than those two. So I think if you do have, like you mentioned in terms of strengthening the team, if you do have a fringe Premier League player or again fringe Championship player, all of a sudden you might be able to poach these with the added offering that you can come join Wrexham, you can come get on this ride that we're all on.
I think from the exposure that they get, and obviously the club get, they've got a really big following in America now. The documentaries obviously brought a lot of revenue in for the club. Just that exposure, like even if you just look at their social media, like they're up past 1 million sort of followers in there. Any other team within that bracket, they're nowhere near it. Like even some Premier League teams aren't even on that level. So they're really able to generate a lot of revenue for the club, which means then that probably puts them on par, if not surpassing, in terms of where they sit in the sort of financial bracket. Sure, in terms of the owners, like obviously they're big Hollywood stars, but some of the other owners within the Championship or League One, obviously they have money from other backings, which is substantial from a Hollywood perspective. Sure, they're wealthy there, but in that side they might not match it as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of what revenue they're bringing into the club, they are matching it, and obviously those leagues work off that sort of formula that whatever your revenue is then allocates what you then can spend on sort of player salaries and earnings. So that's really going to help them, I'd imagine, with bringing sort of top tier talent into the club to give them the contract.
Yeah, well, I think they've got a lot more financial backing, kind of what you said there, whereas, typically like the Premier League where they're handing down all the money to like the league, the Championship, League One, Wrexham have got that little added source through the documentary that probably means that their revenue and what they're bringing in is probably on par with your Championship clubs or maybe even a lower end Premier League club normally, although the Premier League has the whole TV rights deal that they'd be handing out so much money and making so much there. But just off the pitch, I guess, in terms of shirt sales, like you mentioned, social media, there's such a presence there.
Yeah.
And I think over time, we've already seen in the short stint that they've been there, it already translates to results on the pitch because all these little things add up to the point where you have more money, you can invest in better players, you can bring them in, you've got a better team, you can win more games, you can get promoted, you can win trophies and whatnot. So
I wonder if they keep moving up. Let's say they spend a couple of years, or I dare say a couple of years, who knows, they could go up again. But so they move up into the Championship and then they start sort of knocking on the door, whether the sort of Rob and Ryan, the owners now, if they reach out to like another sort of third party to get sort of further financial backing and saying, well, like, help us get to that next level in terms of financial backing. Obviously, look at some of those Premier League clubs, like they're owned and backed by like unbelievably wealthy sort of people, which Rob and Ryan, whilst they've got their money, they're in nowhere near comparison in what these guys are sort of putting up and fronting. So I wonder if they keep moving up, if that's an avenue that they would potentially explore, and then to bring in sort of further investment and revenue into the club. It's
always been like this exponential curve where the teams down towards the lower leagues, like even the non-professional, it's much of a muchness from one league to the next, but the minute you start climbing towards the top, all of a sudden, every time you get promoted, the gap's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm thinking that the National League to League Two, I thought was going to be a massive jump, which, they've already come in and got promoted, which again, apparently is fairly normal behaviour, so I've been told since, but...
That's right, we were there.
But going up to League One is again another massive jump, so it'll be interesting if hopefully someone else can provide those stats again as to how common that is to happen, because like you said, if the next step is in Championship, these steps are getting larger and larger, there's more money. Whilst they are these Hollywood celebrities with obviously great wealth, I think of Premier League clubs where you've got the likes of Chelsea spending £1 billion just on players, and it's because these clubs are owned by massive enterprises, billionaires who have massive wealth through a number of different avenues and business ventures. So although Rob and Ryan, to a normal person standard, are off the charts wealthy and they've got plenty of money, there might be some other level of recruitment for them just to come in and simply compete with the Premier League clubs, should they get there. Yeah,
ultimately they'll, within that sort of grand scheme of things, they are sort of small fish in a big pond, whereas...
So,
you love the fish.
No, you love the fish.
But like in reality, like they are sort of swimming in their own pool now, but Moving up into that bigger pond, it's going to be a harder world. So, like, yeah, do they bring in that additional sort of financial backing?
Another fish.
Yeah, another fish.
Or a whale.
A big salmon.
Yeah, a big whale. Bring the whale in.
I wonder now, with the documentary, obviously the success that they're having, like I wonder what sort of impact that's having on Wrexham in terms of the city as well.
Yeah.
If any Wrexham fans are out there, feel free to comment and sort of say how it's impacted, sort of if it has impacted. Do you have more people coming into the town as tourism up, and more people coming on game day?
You'd have to expect that to be the case.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot
of publicity into it where it's like.
I think if you said to an American, like, can you name a Welsh town or Welsh city?
No, they have no idea.
Yeah, well, Wrexham would be the only
idea.
one. Like, but in the past, you know, you'd probably think of the big cities like Swansea or Cardiff, or those cities that maybe have the bigger teams in the Premier League or the capital. But I think maybe to the average American, who, you know, correct me if I'm wrong again, all of a sudden, a lot of people might have thought that Wales was a part of England. Who knows? And now Wrexham is all of a sudden this place you got to go. Maybe the king will drop in again.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Say hello.
Yeah.
Say, hey, g'day. No, you mean the Queen actually.
So now on to the prize money that Wrexham got for getting promoted into League One. Greg, how much did they get?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. As crazy as that sounds, I found it quite interesting to hear that there actually is no prize money for getting promoted into League One. There's actually just a sum that every team in League Two gets for being in League Two. And then again,
obviously goes up when you go into League One for the television rights, and more people want to watch those games and whatnot. But no actual prize, no prize money to say, here you go, congratulations, good work.
So no magic pot of gold at the end, but obviously there will be some level of financial improvement once they're operating and playing in League One next season. So yeah, I thought that was interesting personally. Not too sure if everyone knew that, if that's common knowledge, but it always seems that, you know, teams always get more prize money when they progress through cup competitions and things like that, but actually to finish on top or even second, get that promotion.
Yeah, I think that there would be some sort of financial benefit in doing it, other than obviously moving into League One and getting that bigger sort of payment.
Otherwise, no massive check to receive at the end of the day there. So yeah, but I think that wraps up basically everything from today. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I've been Ant.
I've been Greg.
And this has been Red Mate, and I'll see you in the next one.
Nothing. I won. To all the squad they had in the National League to now. We'll go back.
No, just let it slide. You corrected it.
Yeah. You started laughing. I don't know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.